And doctor is like, what the hell did you do? I was like, I got in a fight with the jet ski. He's like, he lost that fight. I was like, damn. So, yeah, I broke it. It looked like a peace sign, but no ligament damage to my knowledge.
Wow.
I had MRI done. They're like, yeah, you are very lucky. I was like, and now with a little more anatomy of a background, I was like, yeah, you're right. Bone is probably one of the best things that could happen. Bro.
All right. We're recording. We're on.
Yeah, let's get it.
Perfect.
This is...
Boop, boop, ba-deep, bop, bop, beep, beep, bop,
You
bop.
can't steal my intro. You have to think of your own intro.
That is the intro.
Anyway, we'll do Tony's intro. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, Amy's up.
No, you do it. Go, you do it better.
We did the boop, boop, beep.
Beep, bop, bop.
Welcome to the Boom Show. This is
Everybody just turned it off. They're like, screw these people.
yeah, this is the perfect intro for this episode because we have, of course,
The
myself
ultimate.
and good old Aim Spit here.
Woo!
As your host, and our special guest is Jeffrey Gresko.
Hello, everybody.
Boom, boom.
Everybody's like, I recognize that voice.
If those of you that have never met Jeff up in Sunbury or maybe North, this will be a great interview for you to really dive into learning all about Jeff, who he is.
I can't wait.
Jeff's a very eclectic, very, very smart individual. He's got a great story of all sorts of stuff that we're going to find out about today. But start off, Jeff, tell us your full name, where you were born, and how old you are.
And what your Enneagram number is.
Okay, so when we say full name, are we talking about like my
Government name.
Don't complicate it.
Okay.
You just started.
My name's Jeff Gresko. I'm 30 years old. What was the other question you wanted?
Where were you born?
I was born and raised in Bradenton, which, if you guys don't know, it's like 30 minutes south of St. Pete, which is also south of Tampa, if you know, for my Sunbury peeps. And
I have no idea.
Number, what was that? Was I an 8? I think I was an.
You were definitely not. You are not anything against you. That's more against myself. But you are a 6.
Okay, I'm
7. People up here in Sunbury take the Enneagram very seriously, so they will love to know that.
My apologies, guys. My apologies. I'm also a Scorpio.
6 wing 7. A Scorpio, same.
Oh man.
So is Jen.
We're gonna dive right into this. Get into the nitty gritty. We want to start off, Jeff, with what you did as a kid, athletically, interests. You know what your childhood was like, how that developed, siblings, parents, all that stuff, and then going into high school and college and all that stuff. So just throw it at us.
Okay. Well, we can. Where to start? Well, it was a beautiful, cloudy afternoon. I was born. Just kidding, guys. For the most part, so my dad and my mom, we didn't really, or my mother and my father, there we go. Let's just go with that. Didn't really get along a lot of my childhood, and they ended up getting divorced. But anyways, I never really got to do any sports. Due to my mom having to work all day and my dad just didn't really care to take us anywhere, even though I wanted to do sports. And that's probably why I've grown a disinterest towards any and all, like, I guess, like baseball or football. I don't have a lot of value towards it. So instead I played a lot of video games. A lot. Yes. Right. And almost to the point of like addiction for video games. I've slowly tried to wean myself off of that, but they always once in a while come back and haunt me. But yeah, I didn't really do anything sport related until I got into high school, where I actually followed my brother's footsteps by joining JROTC. I have one older brother, and then I have a stepsister who's 2 years younger, and then a stepbrother. She's 4 years younger. My stepbrother's 2 years younger. My biological brother is 2 years older. Anyways, so I followed in my biological brother's footsteps and joined JROTC. And I tried out for their rifle team, as they called it. And I failed miserably. And so, yeah, it was pretty good. I was like, wow, this sucks. And then so one of the other...
You're like, why? I can shoot guns so well on a video game. I don't understand why this doesn't transfer.
That coordination's on point. What's going on here? Anyway, so then I was getting ready to walk home from high school, or from the day of school, and one of the other cadres, they called it, the guys basically in charge, came over. He's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm going home. He's like, well, why don't you try out for the Raider team? I was like, well, what's that? He's like, oh, it's, physical fitness, tests and all that stuff. I was like, that sounds horrible. Why would I want to do that for you? I played video games my entire life. Well, my other buddy ended up saying, yeah, let's do it. And so I was like, sure, why not? And I did horrible in that as well. But they were like, you need this. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think I do need this. And so that's kind of where my fitness journey started. And also my love for like brotherhood, I guess, or community started with that, because I ended up growing throughout the 4 years of high school to like the top of the ranks in the Raider team. And when I ended up graduating high school, which the Raider team, it's like 7 people. You do all these different tasks, whether it's land navigation, PT tests, like litter carry, which is like the stretcher. So you do all these like physical tests and some like mental tests, but it created a community that when I ended up graduating and going off to college, I deeply, deeply missed. So my first option I decided to go with was to join a fraternity. And then I quickly realized it was not the same community that I was looking for. So I ended up getting out of the fraternity within like a semester. And then I ended up joining the ROTC program in college. And then from there, I went into the National Guard. Long story short, I ended up shattering my knee when I was in college. Not anything military related.
So how'd you do that?
A jet ski to the kneecap. Not ideal.
Oh my God.
I have it on video if anyone wants to watch it. I'll post a link somewhere in here. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's first person GoPro style.
Oh my God, Jeff.
Right?
My stomach hurts.
Yeah.
How old were you at this time?
I think I was a junior in college by this time. So it was
what happened with that? Like, well, I'm sure you had to have surgery and all kinds of stuff.
Nope. So I was wearing
Really?
and it was my buddy, and I was gunning towards him. It's stand-up jet skis, not sit-downs. So they're a little more dynamic and maneuverable. But I was trying to catch back up to him, and then at the last second, he ended up pulling a U-E and riding up the hood of my jet ski, and then right into my kneecap. And so in the video, you hear he's like, "Oh man, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, but my knee hurts. He's like, broken. I was like, no. So I ended up actually riding for about 30 more minutes, and my knee's like, man, it's just getting achier and achier. But I'm wearing a wetsuit the whole time, so I don't see anything. It's holding all the like inflammation down. Ended up riding back. I was like, this is getting worse. Parents ended up coming to get me, drove the car home, and then we went to the walking clinic, and I'm doing like wheelies on the little cart, or what are they called? Wheelchairs? Wheelchair. Thank you. I was brain farting over here. And doctor is like, what the hell did you do? I was like, I got in a fight with the jet ski. He's like, he lost that fight. I was like, damn. So yeah, I broke it. It looked like a peace sign, but no ligament damage to my knowledge.
Wow.
I had an MRI done. They're like, yeah, you are very lucky. I was like, and now with a little more anatomy of a background, I was like, yeah, you're right. A bone is probably one of the best things that could happen. A bone break is one of the best things. If it was like a ligament or a tendon, it could have been a lot more disastrous, or a combination thereof. So I ended up getting out of the military. And then when I got out, I went straight into physical therapy school or physical therapy assistant school. Got certified in that. Then from there, I started working with Lance at RX Chiro. And at the same time, I was already a CrossFit coach down at CrossFit Manatee. I've probably been coaching there, I guess, since I graduated college, when I first got my bachelor's before I went to PTA school. So I'd probably already been at CrossFit Manatee for about 2, maybe 3 years. By the time I got to Lance with my physical therapy assistant license, I then was already the head coach down there. I was the lead programmer, or I guess I was the programmer, not the lead programmer. And then from there, I had always known Tony from like CrossFit 9, and I always knew of him. He had been down to the Manatee location a few times, and I had dropped in at the original like hybrid strength Burg location like 1 or 2 times. And I remember there being absolutely no flow of air in there, and I was dying because I was used to an AC gym. I was like, what is this thing? Yeah.
Oh, that's like a storage unit.
It was an experience that I was not yet prepared for. So then over the course of time, I just wanted to get out of Bradenton. I lived there almost my entire life, with a few years of me being up in Tampa for USF. And so I then started dating Taylor, and she ended up getting a place in like South St. Pete. And then I ended up slowly but surely moving more of my stuff into her place. And then I started
How you guys do that.
And then boom, all of a sudden, then we started living together, and I ended up quitting or no longer working at RX Chiro. They're awesome guys. Just kind of, I was working 4 jobs at once. And so I guess to some degree I had to trim the fat. So I ended up stopped working there. I stopped working at CrossFit Manatee. And now all I do is I'm a head coach at Burg CrossFit, and I do a little bit of work over at Fit Life Foods, mostly just for the free food. Don't tell them that. And yeah, so now I'm a head coach over here. I'm the lead programmer. What are some of the other things?
There's so many titles.
Yeah, right. I feel like a Khaleesi.
Mother of Dragons.
Mother of Dragons. Lead
Okay, I want to back up because we sped over a lot of important things.
Yeah. I was just talking.
I want to know, so I'm sure everybody else want to know, how did you go from not playing sports, don't like sports, and like, if I can envision like the Jeff back then, it was like the opposite of what you would walk into if you walked into like a CrossFit gym like 2008, like just like dirty and there's like chalk everywhere and like everybody's grunting and like chest bumping. So like, how did you get from there and then get into CrossFit? It just seems like 2 totally different worlds.
Yeah. So I honestly have to attribute a lot of it to gaming. I know you're like, that doesn't make any sense, gaming, but gaming, a lot of the games that I played involved a lot of like grinding, right? It wasn't instant gratification. And so it was always a challenge, and I was willing to put in hours upon hours upon hours to see progress versus like just paying money and getting the best thing there, right? I've never been known for, or I've never been granted like instant gratification to some extent. So, you know, when I got into fitness, I don't know if it's nurture versus nature, but I hate sucking at things. Right? And so I was upset at the marksmanship, and I just didn't care enough about that. But then when I got into fitness or the JROTC Raider team, a lot of that drive of like, I want to get better. I don't want to be showing up. You know, I want to be competent at everything I do. I don't have to be the best, but I want to be competent in almost every single field that I've ever like tried out. And maybe that's part like of my, I don't know.
So physical therapy came first, right? Of trying to go that in that route, and then CrossFit came after, or which one came?
CrossFit came first. So
Okay.
when I was in the Army, it was Raider Challenge and JROTC. Then it was Ranger Challenge and ROTC. So I basically just ended up leveling up to some extent. And some of my buddies on there started telling me about these CrossFit workouts. And, we had done Merv with, rucksacks, bags, and boots. And then we did Fran. And it was a god-awful experience of never having touched a barbell in my entire life. And so CrossFit came first, and then physical therapy came after that.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, kind of backing up and, me knowing you a little bit better than some of the listeners, even though you didn't play sports, you did, obviously you did the jet ski thing. Did you compete with the jet ski, or did it just like a fun thing?
It was just, yeah.
But those are like trick jet skis, right?
Like go underwater.
They're very hard to get on. I've tried to get on one of those, like to get from on your knees and you get up, or you start in the water, like you're in the water, right? That's the one you're talking about?
They have to lay in the water to get it started. And whenever FWC came to routinely pull me over, because the area that I would always ride in was known for a lot of people riding around on jet skis without their registrations. So I'd be the only one left in the water as everyone zoomed back in. And then they'd always pull me over, and then I'd be like, oh, thanks, guys. Let me just go lay in the water as I hand you my identification for the week.
Yeah, so you did that. I mean, that's in essence, an action sport, I guess.
For sure.
And then you played paintball pretty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot about that part. That was like 2 years. And oddly enough, I like shooting weapons. I guess I'm not good at marksmanship weapons. Who knows?
You don't have to be good to shoot, though, do you? Just kidding.
It's like I said, I had never shot. So when I was in JROTC, I had just come from middle school, and I guess I had shot weapons before, but I had never had much practice. And then I guess by the time I was playing paintball, I had a lot more practice. And you're getting to shoot live targets versus a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
It's been our newfound interest for a lot of people. We did our guys' day out, and 4 or 5 guys went out and bought their full kits. and then the corona came, and now no one can. So they're all sitting in their house in their room.
I mean, technically, paintballing is a very safe, 6 feet distance sport. I mean, you're shooting people, so I would think that it would still be fine. But
hey, Amy, I'm gonna have you argue that with our governor and see if he's okay with opening up the paintball fields. I will be 100% fine with that.
He might be, being that you guys are literally the last state to do the home order, but anyway. Okay, so I know a little bit about your transition to Burg, but getting to full-time Burg. So you left CrossFit Manatee, you left RX Cairo, mainly just to trim the fat as far as having 1,400 jobs and no time. So what was it? And it's very risky, the move that you made to CrossFit or full-time at Burg, which is, if you don't know anything about CrossFit, is kind of a rarity to have a lot of full-time coaches. You go to most CrossFit gyms and it's 17 part-time coaches and the owner, and that's pretty much it. But what was that transition like to kind of make the leap from having multiple jobs or 2-3 jobs to putting all your eggs in one basket with Tony?
Honestly, a lot of it was just potential for growth is kind of how I saw it. I was offered a salaried, so when I was at CrossFit Manatee, it was all hourly. I was a head coach, but it was still hourly pay. And then as I was transitioning over to St. Pete and whatnot, Tony had offered me a position. I had reached out to him and be like, hey, I want to intern. I know I have a lot of experience under my belt, but I'll go through all the ringer that you put everyone else through. And so I was offered a salaried position over at CrossFit Manatee as well. I'll be honest, I didn't really do the numbers on anything. I knew that I just wanted to make the leap into St. Pete. I was kind of done with Bradenton. And so I was just kind of I'm not going to say hoping for the best, but I was just like, I'm putting all my trust into this jump, and we're just going to see what happens and just make it work, I guess is the easiest way to explain it.
And you had a beautiful girl over here in St. Pete.
Yes. Yeah. That's love you too.
So you jumped on, like I said, we knew each other. I think right when you started, I had started CrossFit. It was like, I don't know, within a month of each other, something like that.
Maybe.
I think it was pretty close. And we went to 2 different gyms, but the gyms kind of coincided, and then we opened up Burg and did our little hot box thing. And you came on like what, 2 years in, 2.5 years in of Burg being open, maybe?
Over at the old location?
Yeah. How long have you been an employee with us?
Oh, goodness gracious. Every time people ask me dates, I'm like, sometime before. You guys didn't have the other side yet. I don't know how long. Okay.
But it's been a few years.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years now, yeah.
And then your passion, I mean, is people can we can explain to people, like you are the lead programmer. You detail that stuff out. I think that's a big interest of yours, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
Tell us about why that is and why you love to make people suffer with all the workouts.
Ooh, so why do I like programming? I honestly, I don't know how I got into it at first. Sometime down at CrossFit Manatee, I would do lots and 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 lots of research just on different programs. Why one works better for some people, why another works better for other people, what's too much volume, what's not enough volume, what's hitting the central nervous system, versus what doesn't do as much load. And it just always piqued my interest. And by no means am I like a master, am I like the best programmer, but I definitely have always found a passion into like trying to improve programming, I guess. Like I could see flaws, whether it's in my own programming or in other people's programming, and then I try and work with it, see how that works. But yeah, like I honestly don't know how I got into enjoying programming so much, but I really do enjoy programming.
So you basically geek out with it. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, honestly.
Jeff heads up that portion of everything, so all the programming kind of flows through him at the end of the day, but we do have a team of 3 others that assist him with that so we can get the volume of programming out. But again, it's a pretty cool thing to see him take that over, and I think hopefully everyone has seen some pretty awesome results from all the programming that's been happening. But yeah,
I think our programming is like the best, man. Our programming is hard, very hard.
So if you guys have any questions about programming, you want to spice it up a little bit, just send them an email.
Yeah, any complaints about programming, Jeff, Gresko at Burg. That's what I always say up here when members are like, that sucked, or like, whatever. I'm just like, info at Burg CrossFit.com. Go ahead and
put my private email now.
That's a little bit more about Jeff too. Is that if people that do know him down here, he's very loud. So
I've never heard that before.
So pretty much, when Jeff enters the gym, everyone knows he's here because he just starts yelling. We're not really sure what he yells about, but he just starts yelling. It was rather comical for a time. He was coaching enough classes in a row and yelling enough that he had lost his voice, and he had bought a loudspeaker.
Yep.
Everybody.
Wasn't it a megaphone or whatever it's called?
Megaphone, yeah. And the coaches would talk bad about items, so couldn't use it. Things like that. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, so he's loud. He's pretty fun. But Jeff is, I think everyone can see it and knows it, that takes his classes. He's super passionate in the areas that he is, and he's super professional. And I think going back to the programming thing, along with that, with this, the assessments and the one-on-one stuff, Jeff's been excelling exponentially at that just because of that kind of geeky, nerding out position that he has. So he's able to dial in really specifically what your needs are and why you need them, and then give you programming for that. So that's pretty cool. But yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, like, it makes sense with, like, you know, my brothers were into video games and into like Legos and all that stuff when they were kids. And it's like that. Did you like Legos too, right?
I loved Legos. Oh, so good.
I I can smell that from here. But it makes sense, you know, of like the puzzle of programming. It is like a dance, you know, where you're like putting things together and like, you know, just like you said, a lot of times people on the outside don't understand like the I can't say the word, intricacies of things. Florida public school, of like programming, and they just think, you know, oh, we're just throwing things. And of course, why would you think there's anything? It's just CrossFit. Like, it just, to the naked eye, you look at it and you're just like, oh, we're doing deadlifts and then we're doing something else afterwards. But there's a lot that goes into the thought process of putting that stuff together as far as like programming goes. So that makes sense with your history of like the time that you dedicated to playing those games or whatever hobby that you were into, of like the puzzle pieces and kind of like seeing the process unfold in front of you. Makes sense, you know?
Science.
Yeah, Jeff says science with everything. So if it's a math,
yeah, that's like, I don't understand that at all. Okay, so going into your classes, what is like as a coach, because everybody is different as far as like what they love to do. Like as a coach, what is your favorite thing that like will never fail to give you chills or never fail to like get you super excited when you see someone do whatever? Like, what is your thing?
It was a while back. I think it might have been here. Someone got their first rope climb ever, and they had the potential to do it. They just hadn't done it. And I can't remember the name or the face, so don't quote me on this. This is like towards the beginning. And they started like almost crying out of happiness because they hadn't climbed a rope in 40, 50 years, something like that. And they were so excited. So getting people to be able to do their first ever rep of something is like, it always hits me in the feels in the right direction. Like, don't get me wrong, I like working with like,
it's like humbling in a way.
Yeah, I like working with like advanced level athletes, but I find so much more passion in people like, you know, getting their like feeling what an overhead squat should feel like, going up a rope for the first time, getting a toes bar, understanding and feeling the kipping motion. Like, hey, that's what it's supposed to feel like. Like, hell yeah, let's get it. I always seem to find more passion in that than getting that 1% extra better on like a snatch.
Yeah.
5 pounds more on a snatch. Like I love seeing those like newer athletes like just jump leaps and bounds with just a little bit of love. That's mine.
Yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned about like the advanced athletes versus like you're just normal guy and gal in here. It's really, it says something about the gym in general, because a lot of our coaches have been here for so long that you get to do their on-ramp or whatever, you know, their first sessions here, and they're looking at that rope like, yeah, right. Like, there's no way I can get up there on their first day that you're with them. And then fast forward, you know, a year and a half later, you're still their coach and you get to watch that. It's like so gratifying because you literally met them day one when like just coming into the gym was just such a feat in itself. And then you get to see that over time kind of transpire is really cool. I agree with you.
Heck yeah.
I agree. Tony?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the most rewarding part of most everyone's job. One of the most rewarding parts. And I think that Jeff's done a great job of that. You know, he takes on a lot of our first incoming clients to teach them how to do their movements, what the proper efficiencies are with those movements, and to give them the limitations that are appropriate for their, you know, skill level abilities. So, which is crucial to make sure there is success in everyone in their fitness journey. And I think all of us, what you kind of touched on, Amy, is when we first started, we kind of felt that in and of ourselves, whether you exponentially come to tears of joy like the rope climb person, or you just kind of hold it in, you still get that joy of like, wow, I just climbed a rope. I remember doing my very first, ring muscle up. I was like, holy cow, I did it. And I was super pumped, but I didn't think I could do it, and I was able to do it. And that kind of joy is something that I think us as coaches, we want transition to those members, to everybody.
Right.
But I think another point I'd like to bring up about Jeff is tell us about Jeff. Jeff has with his personality also joins into kind of some quirky, he makes connections with a lot of people, which is cool. He's just a very likable guy, but he also, if he finds out you have some sort of inkling of a related interest, he pulls you into his group, so, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But gaming for one, paintball for two. He actually started a lot of little groups, and I guess, tell us about that, Jeff, about you just cultivating your community. And I know that you coach a lot of the evening classes. So our 7:30 class, our latest class here. And I coach one of those classes now, and I'll tell you the story behind this, but they consistently are kind of a little bit of a slower kind of group, let's say, as far as getting on time. So they've coined themselves a 7:31 crew. So, shout out to them. I've coined them as, for my one class that I coach 7:30, the 7:29 crew. So we get started.
They didn't like that too much.
No, they didn't like that too much. But it's cool to see Jeff's able to cultivate those little mini communities, and tell us about those. You got your little groups, I guess.
Yeah.
Everyone's involved in them.
So I guess the first one, and so this one kind of had a rough start. I was in video games, as you guys probably knew, and I was playing the game that many of you might know called Fortnite. And I was like, man, I wonder if more people at the gym play this. So I made a post in the Burg page, and then the only comment was Brian calling me a nerd. And I had 3 or 4 people private message me because they didn't want to write it in the comments. They're like, hey.
Oh my God.
Send me your name. I was like, wow. So obviously we're a CrossFit gym, and we're known for athletics, right? CrossFit. And so we have a softball team, and we do a lot of outdoor recreational sports, but we didn't have a lot of groups that did the more nerdier things that I am 100% comfortable letting people know that I am a hardcore nerd. So it went from Fortnite, a couple people, I ended up stopped playing that, to Super Smash Brothers. And so then we got a group of it ended up getting up to 7 or 8 people coming over to Brian's house, one of the members at the gym, who's also in every single one of my groups. He's a go-getter. But he so it ended up going to Super Smash Brothers, and then I ended up creating a board game group because I had actually made a post about board games in the Burg Facebook page, and there was 50 comments on, oh my God, I want to play board games. I want to play board games. And a lot of those people probably didn't understand that I was talking about the much more nerdier board games. They were thinking of the
Monopoly.
Yeah, Monopoly. Tony wants me to play Monopoly so bad.
He won't play Monopoly.
What is the nerdy ones?
Yes. What?
What's a nerdy board game?
You're not gonna know any of these names.
I know, but I just want to hear them.
He's long, and then you burn the board
Okay.
Humor me, please.
The number 1 rated game on Board Game Geek is called Gloomhaven. Brian, the go-getter that I was talking about, owns the game. But it's a one-time use game. And so it's a board game. You set it up. There's 80 different, whatever you want, scenarios, I think is what they call them. And they lead, one scenario can lead to scenario 2 or 3. And then when you do scenario 2, then that can lead to.
So it's like a video game, but on kind of with the same, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically a video game that you play with people, you're socializing, so you can have pizza together, you're not just talking to someone over
You mean healthy cauliflower pizza?
Yeah. I mean, calorie-free pizza.
Cauliflower crust.
But anyways, so each scenario takes 3 or 4 hours, and there's there's 80 scenarios in the game. So we've only made it through 10, and we haven't played in 2 months. But still, it's
wow.
And then you trash the board it's done, right?
It's supposed to. It even tells you to rip the cards, and we just can't justify doing it. But yeah, technically it's a one and done. There's like stickers that you put on the board showing that you collected so-and-so achievement and blah, 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 blah. It takes a long time. Let's just say that.
That's crazy. That's cool.
Yeah, so that was the board game group, the video game group, and then from there, and so now the board game group, actually, before coronavirus, we were meeting every single Tuesday night to play 1 to 2 board games, whether they're shorter ones or a longer one, and then sometimes we'd also play on Saturday. So then from there, this is a total like 360 on all this. I kind of, I'm not going to say hit rock bottom with my finances. I had saved up a nice little nest egg before I moved to St. Pete. And then I started willy-nilly spending my money, non-frugally, let's just go with that. And so one day I just looked at my bank account and like $13, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So
Did Tony make you do your budget too?
Tony did not make me do my budget. I actually think I don't know if I started doing my budget before I started talking to Tony.
I'm just joking.
What was that?
I'm just joking.
Oh, Tony has probably been one of the like the father figures in fixing my my spending crisis or changing my mindset and stuff like that. So, yeah, right. Oh, I know, right?
Rich dad, poor dad. What's up?
But honestly, it started way before. Sorry to boast Tony up more. I don't know if this. He's not going to be able to walk out of this room because of how large his head's going to be.
I know. He's like, why am I running a CrossFit gym? I should be financial planning for people.
But
it's much safer.
When I first joined, like all I ever believed in was like master the movements of CrossFit. I learn and understand what's the best perfect position, because the best perfect position for everyone, blah, blah, blah. It's all about movements and knowledge of power and so on and so forth. And one of the first books that Tony had us read was totally in what I thought was like left field. I was just like, I believe it was Emotional Intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
From Olivia. Yeah, we read that.
Yeah, and so I wanted to read like the CrossFit Level 2 book or the CrossFit Level 3 book. I was like, or like the USAW book. I was like, why are we reading this book? And I was
just feelings.
Yeah, and I was just like, and then you start reading it, and then you don't like. I was probably a little biased against it, but then you start actually putting into effect what they're telling you to do, and then you realize how much more of the experience that the members are getting when you like talk to them in a very kind manner. You understand where they're coming from, how they're going to react and stuff like that, and you just active listening versus just, oh, I already know the answer, let me just tell you blah 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 blah.
Emotional intelligence or emotional EQ, I think, is the title of the book. I'm sure there's a million other books out there, but is so applicable to everyone, no matter whether it's using in your job, whatever. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
To communicate effectively with individuals, and it's always a work in progress. But that's kind of what gave you a little bit of background of what we were doing and why we were reading it, so that we could better, like what Jeff's saying, we could better serve the clients by understanding how to communicate with you guys or with people in general. And that's anyway. Sorry.
No.
Context behind it.
Yeah, so it was like that book, and then I started getting a little more understanding. Then it was like Ideal Team Player. So, and then from those books, then I started reading more into financial books, and he was recommending like mindset change books, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is all, and like they don't tell you how to like stop being poor, but they tell you to like how to change your mindset to think of money differently. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've just read a slew of books now, especially with the coronavirus and the quarantine. A lot more reading time available on the weekends.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, right. But thankfully, I got that advice from Tony before coronavirus, because now I'm actually like financially stable enough that I can survive instead of living paycheck to paycheck. And all of a sudden, coronavirus hits, and then any of the supplemental income that I had just vanished. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. So
that's good. That's a big win. Like same story as you. So financially, it takes a long time to figure that out, and money's never fun to talk about. So
yeah,
it's not something that, when you say that though, it's funny because I would say most of society is so terrified to talk about money and funding and anything debt in relation to that. But it's like the number one thing that people should talk about. And even like parents don't want to talk about that around their kids or to their kids. Never instructed in schools. It's just like I personally never learned any of it. I was never taught any of it until it was like, I remember being in high school, and not to bring it on me, but like similar concept to what Jeff's talking about. You just like at the end of the road and you got to figure something out. So books it just become something that you can do. But
yeah,
there's so many resources now. Jeff's got this whole group, and I try to jump in on it. It's basically a group of people, like-minded people that are just talking about different scenarios. And he's got a book now that he has them reading, and everyone within the group. And it's a pretty cool, pretty badass turn of events. So.
What's the book
where
called?
we were actually going with that conversation. I was like,
Groups.
oh yeah, the groups. Yeah. So anyways, long story short, I created a financial co-op group as well. I had basically been talking to almost like every single person in the gym, whether I was referred to them like, oh, hey, this person's a financial advisor, or, oh, hey, this person's an accountant. Maybe you should talk to them about that. Or, oh, hey, this guy, he works in real estate. Maybe we should talk to him about that. Stock market, blah, 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 blah. And then I just ended up, I would talk to first-time homeowners and see their process, see if there's like knowledge that I should learn through all that, just kind of connections, meeting people, and what better way than in a CrossFit gym where everyone's from different walks of life.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. Science.
All right. So to wrap this up, because I feel like I've learned a lot about you, which is really awesome. I hope everybody learned a lot too. What is one thing that people don't know about you?
All right. So one thing that people don't know about me is I am a hashtag scientist is what I, deem myself. But one of those abilities is actually you get coaching osmosis. So when you work with a group of individuals that set PRs, I steal about 5% of that. And so that's how I get my PRs. Yeah.
So standing next to people who get PRs.
Yeah.
Absorb
I just
their energy.
Yeah. So if they get a 10-pound PR, I steal like 0.5 pounds or something like that. And you get like 20 people all like set personal records. All of a sudden, boom! I improve one of my lists by 5 pounds. It's been working pretty well for me.
Yeah, I gotta try that out.
All right.
Well, thank you. What?
What was that?
I don't know. I thought you said something.
No.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time to letting us take a tour of your life thus far. And if someone wanted to reach you or follow you on Instagram, do you even have Instagram?
I am not Tony. Okay. I have an Instagram. There's, I think it's Jay Gresko or something like that. I don't know. I'm like rarely on it. If I am, I just follow cat memes or something. Don't message me on my personal email about hatred towards the programming.
Yeah, he shares the wealth with other guys, so he can't take all the credit, right? Like all the pain isn't your fault.
Yeah, I just and let them go.
Like, that looks good. I'll deal with that. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of we haven't even named this series, like Learn About Your Coaches series or things you didn't know about your coaches. That's Jeff, which you can't see, but I can because we're on a Zoom call. Tony is here. He says bye. I say bye. Thank you so much for taking the time. Again, thank you for we are in week 4 of Corona, I don't know, saga. COVID-19 quarantine. Hopefully, maybe by the time this comes out, we'll be open back up. But we thank you guys for sticking with us and keep up the Zoom workouts. You guys are crushing it. Committed Club was awesome this month, so more people actually got way more than they usually do because they're home all day working out. So that's awesome. But if there's any way that we can help you or the community in any way, please reach out to us at any corresponding email addresses that you may have, or just go to our website and you can email that address and it gets to us. So again, thank you. Do you guys have anything?
That's it.
All right, guys.
Nope.
Let me check. No. All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we will see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.